Okay, everybody, welcome back to this channel. Today we are going to be looking at the updated version of the SOB 3D Nina dev kit. So you can see I have the file here. I moved all my all my old files to a temporary folder called version 1.0. I'm not going to delete anything. So this is what you get when you download the dev kit from Gumroad. So I'm just going to walk you through a sort of installation process. At the end of the day, it's not really installation. We're just going to simply extract the files here. Okay, and then we now have this folder here. And then let's just change the view. Hold on. Large icons, please. So these are the files that we use. So you can see we have our mcg, we have a paste in html. Let me draw your attention to this. So yes, when you're making products with items from the dev kits, be it old or new, I put this paste in html text here for people, like, so you can spread the word about the dev kit. So you can paste that in your HTML descriptions for your products when you're uploading them. This is your classic dev kit, like the ones that we've covered before. This is a preview of a Marvelous Designer kit. The Marvelous Designer kit didn't change, so I'll show you how to change it in this tutorial. We also have the dev kit for modeling and dev kit for IMVU Studio. Then we have the obj and mtl files for quick exporting to other programs. And then we have an info file here, so we can read this. It comes with handy info about the kit and also the update. So let's get straight into the main work for today's tutorial. Today we'll be looking at making a dress for the new Dina body. Okay, so I can either go with the modeling kit with Blender if I want to use Blender to make the dress or clothing item for the Dina body, or I could use the Marvelous Designer. However, if you I'll use the Marvelous Designer kit because like you can see from this preview, the body here is still the Nina kit, and that's probably not what you want to use for today's tutorial. So I'm going to show you how to use the new Dina body. If that's what you want to use, I'm going to show you how to use the new Dina body with Marvelous Designer. So I'll just draw your attention. I have a blank Marvelous Designer project open. Okay, so I have a blank Marvelous Designer project open. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be exporting the Dina body from the dev kit and then importing it here into Marvelous Designer for the process of making clothing for it. So let's get started. Since we're going to be working with IMVU Studio today, let's just open up our IMVU Studio dev kit. So for those of you wondering, I use IMVU Studio more in my tutorials because that's the version supported by IMVU fully at the moment, and the legacy of clients is debatable. Let me leave it at that. But if there are more people who want for me to use the client approach to uploading items, make sure to leave comments in the comment section for letting me know that that's what you people want. So getting straight into it, we have the full GA body on display by default. Then let's draw your attention to the new feet. So we have feet now. We have new feet with this dev kit. So you can see the hands and feet folder has been expanded. So let's just run through. We have flat feet. We have low feet for like low heeled items. Okay, so these are for like high heels, the hand are high. Then we have for even higher high heels and even much higher high heels. And then we outright have shoes we have feet for like ballet feet and all of that. Or you can use this to make like stuff like scuba flippers, basically anything. I try to cover as wide a range as possible with the feet in this kit. So let's put this back on the flat feet. Now we have the default Nina body, the GA version of the default body, but we want to today use the Dina body to create something in Marvelous Designer. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to hide this body by clicking the eye icon here. Then I am going to click the eye icon here where the collection is. So you can see where I'm hovering my mouse, I'm going to click the eye icon here first. Now it's going to load the AP version of the Dina body, but for this tutorial we'll be using the GA version. So thank you. So this is what the Dina body looks like. As described in the posts prior, it's essentially a slimmer alternative to the Nina body as requested by several people. We will be using this body today in Marvelous Designer. So let's export this body by going to File, Export, and we're going to export it to an OBJ since we're exporting to Marvelous Designer. Now we're going to click selection only, so limit to selection only. Then I like to bump up the scale to 100 because of Marvelous Designer finds it easier to work with much larger avatars. So what's this called now? Yeah, so let's just call this Dina body export. Dina body OBJ export. Now we're going to export our OBJ. Then let's go into Marvelous Designer. Now we're going to go into File, then Import and OBJ. Okay, so this is where we are. Yes, so this is our OBJ, the Dina body export OBJ. So load type is open, object type is avatar, and then we click OK. So we have just the body. If you want to export with the feet, you equally can shift select and export with the feet, but we just exported only the body because we are working with only the body today. The dress isn't going to be that long that I will cover the feet. Mind you also, let me point this out at this moment. Where are the feet? So you have, these are the feet that came with the original kit. They are different from the other feet, so you'd have to really select. You have to be really careful when working with feet, because I wouldn't want you to work with the wrong feet at the end of the day. So the original feet are just simply called feet, but the newer feet have their new names: flat, low, high, mid, tall, and tip. So I just wanted to quickly point that out. Let's get back to Marvelous Designer now. So we know what to do here in Marvelous Designer by now. Let's press H and draw up a simple pattern. Okay, so to make curves, what I do is I first position the line where I want the midpoint of the curve to be, sort of the midpoint of the curve to be. Then I hit Control and click, and then I drag it out, and then I continue. So now I want another curve here, so I'll hit Control, and then I click again. If I want a continuous curve line, I Control click again, so I'm going to Control click again. Okay, so you can see, and then let's make this dress this length. Since we're going to be unfolding with symmetrical sewing, I'm just going to stop at the half line. To pan, by the way, I think the settings are different depending on how you set up your Marvelous Designer. So to pan, what I use for my panning in Marvelous Designer is my scroll wheel, but those settings can very much be different to your own version of Marvelous Designer. Also, I would like to know if you people would prefer that I make more clothes in Blender as opposed to Marvelous Designer. Typically I just use Marvelous Designer because it's easier and quicker, and makes the tutorials less less shorter than they would be if I was using Blender. So let me know in the comments if you'd rather I use Blender in other tutorials moving forward. So I have checked remesh. What remesh does is hold on one second. So remesh has changed our triangles to quads, and then I'm going to bump down the particle distance to 10. Okay, and now I'm going to press Z. I'm going to press Z, then hover, then click on the center line, right click it, and unfold with symmetric sewing. Okay, then I'm going to press A. I'm going to Control C, and then I will Control V. Then I'm going to flip the normal, and then I'll use the gizmo to align it. Then I will move it backwards with the blue arrow. Then I equally will move this one backward with the blue arrow, because the closer things are, the better the sewing outcome. Now I'm going to press N. I'm going to press N and sew my items. So you can see, because we have unfold with symmetric sewing on, it automatically did the other side. And now our dress is ready for rendering. And there's our dress. So we can pull in the sleeves if you want to. Let's just pull in the sleeves a bit, and that's our dress. So we can replicate this process using the modeling dev kit in Blender, but for today's tutorial I'll just be using Marvelous Designer. So now I'm going to press Ctrl A, File, and Export OBJ selected. Now I'm going to call this Dina test dress and save. Then I'm going to export it as a single object. Select all patterns. Make sure the settings are as follows: select all patterns, single object, weld. Okay, thin, unified UV coordinates. You can adjust your UVs in Marvelous Designer, but I prefer doing mine in Blender. We're not exporting any textures, but if you desire the textures, go ahead. Create absolute texture image file path, leave it at that, and okay. Okay, so now let's go back to Blender. By the way, if you want a quick front view of your object, all you need to do is go to your numpad and press the period or full stop on your numpad, and then you can press 1 to have a front preview of your object. So what your numpad period does is it brings the object to focus. Now we're going to import our object with wavefront OBJ. We need the Dina test dress OBJ. Yes, that's what we're looking for. So remember that we scaled it up. We scaled it up by 100 while exporting. So we're going to make sure that it's just the Nina test dress that is selected. Then we're going to use Control A all transforms. All right, so that the scaling down is uniform. Then we press S.01. Okay. And now our address has been brought down to scale. And that's how you make clothing objects with the Nina devkit. So now let's transfer weights and get on with the rest of the cloth making process. So we have our UV editing. All right, let's do our UV editing. Let's check. We come into our UV editing tab, select everything, then select everything in the UV editor. Then we're going to do our seams from islands. Let's check if that worked. Okay, so seams from islands doesn't always work, so you'd have to manually set the seams yourself. Okay, you can also press Control E and clear the sharps if you wish. So seams from islands doesn't always work. We need seams between the front and the back, since we'd like to dedicate them to their own separate material. So let's quickly adjust the seams. Be sure that you are capturing all the vertices along the seams and not following the appropriate seam line. Okay, so we just mark the seam there. All right, and let's do the other side. Remember, anywhere that we sew, is where we would have a seam. So that's a guide for you. Okay, so you can see we have this small vertex here, so you would have to also capture that vertex so that everything would work. Then now we can use we haven't done the seams on the shoulders, so you can see not even one seam was present on this shoulder. Okay, so how I'm selecting vertices, multiple vertices at once, is I first click with my selection mouse. So I first select one of the vertices, then I control click the last and hover over the last vertex and then click. So it's going to click all, select everything that's in between, and I'm going to press Control E and mark seam. Okay, now I'm going to go into this face select mode. I'm going to press L, and now you can see only the front of my dress is selected, and which is what we want in this tutorial. So now we can select everything using A. We are going to bring this into the bounding box. This is the bounding box. Now again, since this is a new installation of the devkits, we now have to set constraint to image bounds. Okay, that's going to help us so that when we press S and we want to scale up our UVs, it will just deform this way, which is what we want for this tutorial. So so you don't play guessing games, you can press 0.5 here so that it's automatically at the center and scale it down. Then you can press S by, I'm going to use 0.8 or let's try 0.9. So yes, I'll scale this down by 0.9 because it's generally not advisable to have your your UV maps touching the bounding box too much, because it would create like seam lines along the dress. Unless maybe that's something you want, that you can go ahead and scale it, but for this tutorial we won't be doing that. And it will also allow for margins to be done properly. Okay, so we have our front of dress. Now in this, we now have to add our materials. So let's come to materials. This is the default material that comes with the Marvelous Designer file. We're going to remove that. Okay, we have to tab into object mode. So let's go back to layout, come to materials, this icon here, and then we remove that. So let's go back to UV editing. We're going to add two materials. So let's call the first one dress 1, and let's give this 30. So you should know by now that we have the material name, then its index in square brackets. Okay, then we press enter, then dress 2 31, different index for dress 2. So by default everything would be assigned to dress 1. So all you need to do is, using your face select, you hover over a face in the back side of the dress, then press L to select all the vertices in the back side of the dress, and then you assign. So to verify that we've done what we've done that we've done the correct thing, you just come and you can adjust the viewport display colors of each material. That helps us equally see it better when we are doing the weight transfer and testing our poses. So now we have our dress done. All we need to do now is we need to select the default body and shift select our dress. Then we are going to press Ctrl Tab, and then we go to weights, transfer weights. Then you expand this, and then we are going to select nearest face interpolated, then by name. All right, then now we're going to come back into object mode using Ctrl Tab. So Ctrl Tab, object mode. Then we're going to select the dress, then shift select the skeleton. So the skeleton is clothing avatar armature. We're going to now press Ctrl P with empty groups. Okay, so now when we drag across along the timeline, you can see what we've done. We've now rigged the dress. Let's see if we require smoothing. So let's go back to weight paint mode. To put this, to check, to preview your weight with the bones, you first make sure that your skeleton is in pose mode. So you first hit Ctrl Tab to put your skeleton in pose mode. Then you can go back and select your dress, and you can see here is a bit rigid. So if you'd like, you can smooth it. So I'll show you how to smooth it now, for those who don't know. So we're going to use our vertex select. We're going to press A to select everything. Then we're going to use weights and smooth. So I'm going to use just one for this tutorial, and then I select all groups so that the smoothing is uniform across the entire body. So you can see now the lines here look smoother, and then I deselect that, then come back into object mode with Ctrl Tab. And now our dress is ready. We can now export it. So there's one more step which is optional. You can go ahead and bake the dress and add textures. So I've realized that several people have different methods for baking, but I did a video earlier covering the process of baking in Blender. You can go ahead and check that out. But if you have your own process of baking or texturing your clothing items, then go ahead and continue with that at this point. All I'm going to do now is export. So while we're using the Studio devkit, we have to make sure that the item that we wish to export is the only item in the clothing export collection. Okay, then we are going to have just the item selected. So you can use Alt A to deselect everything to make sure that everything is deselected, then select just the item you wish to export. So now I'm going to use the export tool. Okay, depending on the nature of your kit or your dress, it might take time. Now it has been exported. I'll now come into IMVU Studio. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to go to create. And then I already had searched for sub 3D, but I need to show you people the process of getting to the devkit based derivables, because it's much easier with Studio. If you're not using Studio, there will be a link in the description to the base derivables, showing you all the derivables for the Dina devkit series. So for those of you in Studio, the process is even easier. All you need to do is search for SOB 3D in the creator section here. Then it should be the first one on the list. You click on that list. Now you can see we have all the base derivables here. Or if you want to narrow down your search, all you need to do is search for Dina. Even the Dina items will pop up when you search for Dina. So yes, so now we made a full body dress for the Dina body. So you can see where my mouse is now. I have Dina body devkit, so this is the full devkit, but this should be the AP version. Let me check. Make sure you're deriving from the, so you can see this is the AP version, so the default GA version is here. All right, and now once we select the item that we wish to derive from, we simply click derive. Okay, so you can right click to pan, use your scroll wheel to zoom in, and use your left click to rotate the view. So let's go ahead and import our FBX using this icon here. We're going to import FBX, then we're going to come into this folder, and as those of you who've been watching the videos thus far know, you know that IMVU Studio exports the items as with the name of your Blender save file. So this is the item that we wish to import. You can rename it here so that in the future when you're exporting more items, it doesn't get confusing for you. So I'm just going to call this Dina test dress export. Okay, and then I double click. Okay, so we click on set of FBX. Okay, this is all fine. No, this isn't all fine. We have to use 5 when we're using full dresses. We use 5. If you're using just a top, I would recommend 44, because I find that 44 is the number that doesn't clashes the least with other tops. Then for pants, I would recommend 32. So yes, you can leave override meshes on. Okay, then next. Yes, these are materials, so you can check. This is what the indexing is for. So we put 30 here. Now it's a material ID 30. We put 31. This is a material ID 31. Next, clothing avatar action. No, you deselect that. Review and import. Yes, we can check these out. These are our textures: material, mesh, material, and another texture. All right, so you import that. Then let's come to component. You click on 0, and then we add the MCG. Then click preview. Go ahead to the 30 and 31, make them double-sided, and your dress for the Dina body is done. So this is how you make dresses for the Dina body, as well as other bodies in the sub 3D Dina dev kit. I hope you found this helpful. Please be sure to comment any of the questions that you may have, or feel free to send me a DM on any of my available platforms. Also, like, share, and subscribe. Share with people that you feel this video would help. Thank you all for watching, and see you in the next video. Thank you.